Hi everyone, my name is Charlie and today I have my May favourites. This is a bit of a difficult video for me to make this month since I haven't really been consuming that much new media. In terms of my favourite books this month, we have Written on the Body by Jeanette Winterson. I have a few vlogs in which I mention this book. I was inspired to read this at the beginning of the month because of something that I read in Every Drop is a Man's Nightmare. I don't know what spurred me on from that book to go and read this one, but I came up to my bedroom and I pulled it off the shelf and I thought, well, I'll give it a read, because when I'm looking at the books that I still own, I'm regularly thinking, do I want to read that? Do I want to unhaul it? That sort of thing. And this was going to be a book that I unhauled, only for it to end up being this absolutely brilliant tale of what it means to love. It was brilliant. I do have a review of this which I will link in the description, but I can see myself rereading this one regularly. It was the first time in my life when I read Jeanette Winterson and I felt like I actually got it and I understood what she was talking about, and it's made me less reticent to go and read more of her other works in future. And then we have Black Swan Green by David Mitchell, a book that I have had on my radar since 2006 when it was first released. It was mentioned during an episode of Newsnight Review, and for ages I couldn't remember what the title was. I kept thinking it was Black Swan Lake. And then when I was reading David Mitchell a few years back, I saw this title and I remembered. It is the less surreal and weird of Mitchell's novels. Indeed, the only weird bit appears towards the beginning when you're left wondering whether this person is having visions of phantoms or whether it's just his imagination gone wild. But I keep saying that this was a perfect evocation of the 1980s for somebody who didn't live through them, but I also think that it captured adolescence incredibly well. I thoroughly enjoyed it and I looked forward to reading this book, and I looked forward to going back to it, and it's one of those voices where it felt very lively and had this verve to it that felt, as a reader, I felt connected to this character. As I was recording this video, I did say at the beginning that I was going to include 3 books, but the more I just spoke about The Passenger by Cormac McCarthy, the more I realised that it wouldn't be fair to include it. Therefore, in May, we're just going to have the 2 favourites. We are going like RuPaul's Drag Race this year. We are just having a top 2. Say goodbye to your top 3s and your top 4s for the month. I did not read enough books in May to warrant having 3 favourites on this list. I've also looked back at my reading journal from the last few years. It seems that May is always a month in which I read less than I have read in previous months. Next, we move on to the songs for the month. The first one is a song that I first heard when Spotify were doing something for St. Patrick's Day, and that is Irish Eyes by Rose Betts. I liked it when I first heard it, and then it didn't come up on a Spotify playlist for ages, and then when it played again I thought, oh yeah, I remember this, I like this song. But then it's got stuck in my head and I just like it. It simply makes me smile when I listen to it. Then we have Sunny by Cruel Youth. Many years ago, I was a fan of Natalia Kills, and then there was the whole X Factor scandal, which saw her and her husband fired, and then she didn't release any more music. She went out under the name Teddy Sinclair, wrote songs for other people, and began this project Cruel Youth. And I was wondering what had happened to them. So did a Google and found out they'd released a cover of Sunny. So I listened to it and I like it. Then we have Notion by Tash Sultana. I don't know what song I was looking for, but I typed it in and found out it was featured on somebody else's playlist. So I ended up listening to the entire playlist because I thought, well, if I like that song, then they might have a similar taste to me. And I rather like this one. There is a relaxed quality to this song that I particularly liked. That's all it took, was the melody and the music, and then there's this solo for some sort of instrument. I want to call it a guitar, but I could be entirely wrong. Either way, there's a solo towards the end of this song that leaves it ending on something of the high, and it appealed to my sensibilities. Now, the next one, I was originally going to choose 3 TV shows, but all the television I've watched has been the same. So I have now reached season 10 of Modern Family. I'm not mentioning it again. I'm hoping to finish watching that show in June, then I don't know where I will go afterwards. So I've decided that for this month, I'm going to go with things watched. And one of the things that I've been watching more than anything is the Sorry Girls, which is a YouTube channel, and I believe it's all to do with home renovation and upcycling, thrifting, that sort of thing. I was considering decorating my room whilst my brother was in Scotland. He was in Scotland for over a month and it never happened because I just couldn't decide how to do it. And I've decided to go with a smaller project. Despite the fact that we rent this house, I really want to tackle the bathroom and just get that clean. We have been dealing with black mould in this house. We've been dealing with a lot of things falling apart and having to contact the council and waiting for them to come and sort stuff out. But I really want to paint this bathroom and just make it less messy, and I've bought some shelves and a mirror for it so far. Further plans to upset my brother because he hates change are to paint it and maybe paint the floor as well, which I haven't told him about, but I hate the floor colour that the council put in. They didn't even ask, they just put down this solid piece of, I don't want to call it laminate flooring, but it's bloody awful. The man who actually installed our bathroom had never been trained, and so all of our tiles are lopsided. The bath got chipped by him. The board that he put in front of the bath, he cracked in half. He didn't allow me to sign to say that I was approving the job. He signed it all himself, as though he was me, and then just left. And that has annoyed me for the 10 years that this bathroom's been in. So I want to see what I can do about that entire place. So I've been watching the Sorry Girls to get some ideas and to think about how to craft some stuff myself and what might come into the charity shop that I could repurpose. Then I have been watching RuPaul's Drag Race All Stars 9. I think it's great that they are giving money to charity this time around. There aren't really that many queens on it this time that I have wholeheartedly supported in the past, so I really am going into it with absolutely no care to see any of them win. I have been impressed by the fashions on that show, I have to say. And then Doctor Who. I'm really enjoying the new series of Doctor Who. I mentioned in a vlog recently that for me, whenever they change the Doctor, it's always like a change of story style, a change of character, a change of direction, and I appreciate that. And I think that that comes with any show that's lasted for 60 years. Well, 26 years, took a break, and then another 19 years on top of that. What can you say? I find it one of those shows where I can go and look at another Doctor if I want a certain type of story. As I say, I was watching classic Doctor Who with John Pertwee to get that 1970s almost detective show style feel from it. And Ncuti Gatwa's series, there's something that reminds me of being a teenager again with all the theorising I do with Charlie of Charlie Brooke Reed's and another few friends of mine. I don't have the same problems that other people seem to be having, but let them have a go. Like my brother with the change in the bathroom, these people just don't like change. Anyway, that's me, and those are my favourites. If you've read any of the books, watched any of the television / YouTube, or listened to the songs, then please feel free to discuss them in the comments. Similarly, what have you been enjoying this month? What have been some of your favourite books, music, TV shows, films, podcasts? Always looking for recommendations for those final two, because as I continue to say, apart from Books Unbound, I haven't been listening to much this month. And just another mention of Philippa of Quick Book Reviews, who is another fantastic podcaster. And I did mention way back in January, but I haven't gone on to mention again as much as I mentioned the other podcast. I hope that you have got something out of this video, even if it was just something to watch for the end of May. Because until next time, that is all.